Bitcoin is creating a double top pattern right now, and we need to be talking about whether this is going to be the top for Bitcoin. Are we going to be breaking towards the downside right now, or are we going to find enough strength to break above this line and actually invalidate this pattern? So make sure to be staying tuned, since I have a lot of charts and a lot of data points actually presented to you guys, so that we can be going through what's going to be happening next for that Bitcoin price. And I'm also going to be going through Ethereum, and I'm going to be looking at this chart over here in particular, looking at what's going to be happening for that Ethereum price next. Are we going to be breaking towards the upside or the downside, since we have our Bollinger Band squeezing in, indicating the massive move is coming? So I'm going to be covering this in a lot more detail. So with that being said, let's not waste any time. Let's get straight away into this banger. Bow. So looking at the short term for Bitcoin, we can see that we had a lot of volatility coming in on Friday, since we had a lot of news actually coming out. We had that unemployment rate coming out and our non-farm payroll. And our non-farm payroll, like we discussed in yesterday's video, actually came out a lot shorter. So that essentially meant that the labor market is not doing well and the Fed has to look to cut rates. And we saw off the back of that the probabilities for a rate cut actually shot up to 100%. And now the question is, are we going to be getting a single 25 basis point rate cut, or are we going to be getting a 50 basis point rate cut? And the probabilities lies at 89% for a 25 basis point rate cut and an 11% chance for a 50 basis point rate cut. And if we do get a 50 basis point rate cut, the markets will absolutely explode, since this means there's more liquidity actually coming in towards the markets. So that's essentially why Bitcoin had a massive move towards the upside, and then it came crashing down. There was a lot of volatility surrounding the numbers and a lot of different viewpoints. So of course the markets were a bit confused. It went up and then it went straight back down, and the stock market did as well, which led to Bitcoin actually following. So that's essentially why we had that price action. But right now we're actually sideways, since we're in a weekend. So of course you can see that we have the CME gap in and around 110,700, and I did mention it is likely we're just going to consolidate around this region, and that's exactly what's happening right now. And this is just because we don't have the ETFs actually live and we don't have institutions trading, so there's a lot of low volatility in and around our weekends, and we tend to consolidate around our CME close price. So that's how the short term is looking so far. But we need to be discussing if this double top pattern is going to be playing out or not. You can see that we've recently rejected from this resistance point on Friday after we spiked up on the news and we came straight back down. So this is a warning signal. This is a signal indicating that potentially Bitcoin has not got enough strength to actually push the price towards the upside. So we can look at this double top pattern in a bit more detail. We can see that we have our tops over here, and essentially Bitcoin is consolidating just below the neckline at the minute. And given that we actually break above the neckline at 112,500, that is going to be the level where we're going to be saying, okay, Bitcoin is ready to move towards the upside, and it's invalidating this double top pattern right now. Since you're not supposed to break above the neckline, you're likely to retest it, and that's where you have to move towards the downside. And you can see that the amount of time we spent below this neckline is showing that the bulls are actually strong. They're actually holding price up towards the upside, and we're not actually moving towards the downside straight away after that retest. You can actually look closely and see that this is the second time retesting the neckline, and we're yet to actually continue to put a new lower low in. So we need to look at the short term price action, and we need to be seeing whether this pattern is going to be playing out or not, because in the short term you may notice that we're potentially putting in a higher low. So we can actually look at this pattern over here, which is your inverse head and shoulders pattern, and you can see that we've had lower lows so far and you can see lower highs, but we've actually potentially put in a higher low over here. So if we can actually confirm this low and have a higher low here, it is likely we can break above, like you can see on the image over there, and that's where you're going to be getting a higher high, and Bitcoin is likely to shoot towards the upside. So we need to be breaking above this resistance point at 112,500. If we can break above this inverse head and shoulders and this horizontal level of resistance like we talked about over here, that is going to be the point where you can say, okay, Bitcoin is likely to move towards the upside now, since we've actually confirmed this higher low. We've put in a higher high now, and the trend is likely to shift towards the upside now. Another reason why I'm talking about Bitcoin moving towards the upside is the fact that we've had our September trap playing out like we've highlighted in our previous videos. But in case you missed it, here's a quick rundown. Essentially, you can see this three charts are showing September 1st, and this is 2017, this is 2021, and this is 2025, the year we're in right now. And you can see in 2017 we had a massive bullish year, like you can see in the chart over here. So it was 65% in August, and then in 2021 we had a massive 13.8% in August. But in September, for both of the years, it was around a 7% correction for both of the years. And you can see at the minute we actually had that correction in August already. So in 2025, we had a red August instead of a massive green August. And September right now is looking bullish. It's looking like our 2023, as you can see over there, in 2024, where they had red August and then they had a green September, and this is how the price action was looking. So we can see on the charts right now that Bitcoin's already responding positively, and it's likely that the correction is already in August, and in September we're going to move towards the upside. And everybody that's looking for a post-halving shakeout towards the downside for September is going to be left behind if Bitcoin is going to be moving towards the upside. So it looks like Bitcoin is ready to actually move towards the upside now, since we've already had that correction towards the downside like mentioned. So this is another reason why I'm staying massively bullish. And of course, we're trading on this massive level of support, so we're not actually losing this level of support. And of course, if we put in a new lower low, it is likely that we lose the support level and come in towards our 100k region, which is the measured move from that double top pattern. But given that we can actually reclaim this level over here, so again 112,500, that's going to be shifting the trend, and you can confirm this as your low, and that's going to be a retest of this massive key level. Now if you can reclaim that level, we're going to be confirming this pattern as well, which is your power of 3, and you can see that we're going to enter the distribution phase, and this is going to be a manipulation. So this is another reason why you could be looking at a Bitcoin price moving towards the upside. And of course, we're trading in a falling wedge right now, so this is a bullish bias pattern that's indicating that if you can actually confirm a breakout, which we have done, and actually retest it, that's going to be indicating where we're going to be moving towards the upside. And it looks like Bitcoin is holding this falling wedge. We've actually broken out. We've come for a small retest, and we're looking like we can see some expansion coming in towards next week. So this is a massive region where you want to be seeing follow through from the Bitcoin price, and that's where we can actually go and tackle the next resistance point. So if you're enjoying the video and you're agreeing with my opinion, make sure to check that first link down below for BitTunex. BitTunex is a non-KYC global exchange that's offering the community a massive 20% on your deposit. So you can see if you deposit $2,000, you're going to be getting a massive $400 bonus over there, which is free money to be trading with. So that's $400 in free money to be trading with if you deposit $2,000. So using that first link down below, you can claim this and you can get massive positions in using that free money that you could be getting. So make sure to be checking that first link down below if you're interested in trading. Now for Ethereum, you may be wondering where are we going to be heading next, and we can see the Bollinger Bands are squeezing in, indicating that there's a massive move coming. The Bollinger Bands are a volatility indicator that's direction neutral, so it doesn't show you the direction, it just shows you that we're going to be getting a big move. And you can see last time that the Bollinger Bands were massively tight, it actually led to a massive move towards the upside. And you can see over here as well, the Bollinger Bands are quite tight, that led to a move towards the upside. So this time it can be to the downside or the upside, and we need to be evaluating what's going to be happening next. We can see the Bollinger Bands or percentile difference, the BBWP, just showing that the width is very low. So when it's below the 20 mark, over here you can see that the width is quite low. And if it's fully expanding, then it's going to tick towards the upside. And the fact that it is low, showing that there's no volatility in Ethereum right now, we're just consolidating. And we can see that in the price action. At the minute, we're consolidating. Within this pattern, you can see we had a move towards the upside, and then we started to consolidate. And given that we had that move towards the upside already, and it's in this structure, it's likely to actually break towards the upside now. But again, we do have to be having a decisive break above our resistance line, so that's one thing to be actually paying attention to. But of course, you can see that the volatility is very low, so this can go anyway. And if it does move towards the downside, the next support level is going to be 4,100 for Ethereum, and the level to reclaim for me is going to be 4,350 for Ethereum. If you can reclaim that level, it looks like we're going to start breaking this downslope trend line and actually shifting the trend. So that's the scenarios to be watching for. If you do get a reclaim, you can be bullish on Ethereum and expect that massive breakout. And if we break to the downside, then of course 4.1 is going to be a massive level for me. But we can look at the liquidation heat maps and look at what direction is more likely, and we can see that the downside liquidity has been swept for Ethereum already, and the majority resides above us. So it is likely that we can actually move towards the upside given we break this downslope trend line. So we want to be seeing Ethereum actually break this downslope trend line first, and then that's where we're going to be seeing a massive move towards the upside. So I'm not going to be getting bearish here. I still think Ethereum has room to actually move towards the upside since we have the liquidity actually above us now. So we need to be paying attention to this and watching for that reclaim. Once we get that reclaim, we can be massively bullish. Now for that longer term, Ethereum looks like it's likely to move towards the upside. We can see that it's repeating history from last cycle. We had this V-shaped recovery last cycle, and we had the same thing play out this cycle. and we're in the period now where it's the best opportunity to be accumulating your Ethereum before we have that massive blow off top. So I'm actually massively bullish, and you can see that this rally's only just started. We've only just entered the phase where we've come out from our V-shaped recovery phase, and we're actually just right now in the phase where we could consolidate / move slightly higher. And we can see that's shown by the MACD that's only ticked bullish for the second month now. So it ticked bullish in August for the first time, confirming that bullish cross, and right now the EMAs are expanding whilst the histogram is printing another green bar, which is very bullish to be seen. So that's actually looking very good. And we have this descending broadening wedge for Ethereum, and we're playing out just like last cycle. So there's a lot of upside to come in my opinion, and I'm not going to be getting bearish. We can see that there's large investors massively accumulating whilst retail sells, and the institutions also know that there's going to be a massive move for Ethereum. So I'm not going to be getting bearish for Ethereum. But yeah, that'll be it for me. Make sure to follow me on X to be staying up to date with all my updates, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a blessed rest of your day. Peace guys. See ya. Bye bye.